What in the world is happening with King County real estate? Well, let's look. All right. This is the Nothing Special report. This is more of the same. This is just as I predicted. This is, did I stutter? That's right. All right. So what you're looking at is the supply and demand in King County over the last 2 years. Green is supply, new listings, blue is demand, homes under contract. All right. Good times. What stands out? Well, what stands out to me is buying demand is steady over the last 2 years. In fact, if I went back another year, I'm not going to, but if I did, you'd see the same. Buying demand hasn't changed since the beginning of 2023, beginning of 2022. It's just been pretty steady. Okay. Supply has increased massively. Okay. This is July of this year, 2,700, 2,300 in July of 24, and even less than that, 22,000 in July of 2023. So we've seen a steady increase in supply month over month, year over year. Okay, year over year, month over month, it's declined. So this is May, June, July. Very predictable. This is a standard seasonality kind of event. Okay, decreasing month to month, but it's the year over year number that I'm interested in. Because this indicates this is a glut of available housing. There's a steady amount of buyers and more inventory. That's any way you look at it, supply and demand. It's not just a good idea. It's the law, people. This is the beginning of a very stable market. If this keeps going, this will be a balanced market. Not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. Of course, given we live in Seattle and we are used to, or recency bias would have us think we were used to put a box on the side of the street and sell it for multiple offers. This is going to look like a buyer's market. It's going to feel like a buyer's market. When they talk about wind chill factor. It feels like it's different. The humidity makes it feel like it's different. But the truth is, this is a pretty balanced market. So, you're looking at a month to sell your house now, something like that. That will be predictable going forward, something like that, not 2 minutes to sell a house, just because buying demand isn't there. And it's not likely to get there. You're not looking at any time in the next few months where buying demand is going to go up. What you're going to see is buying demand stay relatively steady, which it does stay relatively steady. I mean, it goes down a little bit towards the end of the year. But the selling will drop off, meaning the available inventory will get used up. So if you are going to list, you got to be really strategic with your price. You are not going to overprice your home and get it sold. There's no one to buy it. And if you're buying, you should have plenty to choose from, right? Depending on exactly where and exactly what you're looking for, you should be able to find someone to negotiate with fairly easily. So this is a balanced market. That's what that looks like. All right. Every use case is distinct, though. Every house is different. Every neighborhood's different. Every buyer is different. Y'all snowflakes, y'all unique grains of sand in the sea. So give me a call. Let me know how I can help. Love to talk to you about your situation. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at EXP Realty. Party on, Wayne. See you later. Hey, what is happening in Kitsap County? Whoa, check it out. Okay, so this update is almost identical to Pierce, Snohomish, and King counties. There's no difference happening in Kitsap. This is not a unique phenomenon. This is the supply and demand chart. Green is supply, new listings. Blue is demand, homes under contract. Every given month, any given month for the last 2 years, inclusive. And you can see there's way more supply than buyers. Buyers are pretty steady over the last 2 years. That it doesn't go up very much, doesn't go down very much year over year. It's about the same, but there's been way more inventory come to market this year consistently than any time in the last 2 years. That means easier to buy, harder to sell. That's how it is. There's no reason to think the market's going to collapse. If you're a home buyer, you know, if you're hoping for a lower interest rate, you're misguided. A, it's unlikely to happen. B, there's no reason for it to happen. And C, if it happened, prices would just go up and it would make it harder for you to buy. It just doesn't make any sense for you to want them lower. The moment they go lower, more buyers come to market, prices go back up. The whole point of the increased interest rates was to keep prices from exploding again. So, and they're doing that. The market's unlikely to collapse. It's unlikely to, it'll come down a little bit off its peak, but it's unlikely to just bottom out. There's still plenty of buyer demand, and it's really steady. You can see over the last few years, if I went back further, you'd see the same thing. Buying demand in our region isn't going away. So prices are unlikely to collapse. But this increase in inventory will keep them from exploding. But every case is different. Each buyer needs something different. Every seller needs something different. So each individual person, if you have a question about your situation, we should talk. This is just macro information. And the macro information is we're going into a balanced market, something where buyers and sellers are on somewhat of an equal footing, that you won't see a lot of bidding wars and you won't see a lot of homes sitting on market forever. Take 30 to 90 days to sell a house, and that's pretty normal. Everything else has been an aberration, and we're going to have to get back to getting used to what normal has been historically. That's where we're headed. Certainly it's the case out of this information. If there's nothing here that says any collapse is imminent, which doesn't mean it's not. It's just there's nothing here that suggests that. All right, that's what I got for you. Let me know if you have questions about your situation. I'd love to help. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at EXP Realty. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world is happening with Pierce County real estate? Whoa! All right, let's look at this. This is very similar to our friends over at King County, in that you're seeing the supply and demand for the last 3 years. And what you're looking at is the green is the supply, new listings, blue is the demand, homes under contract. And what is it telling us? What is this information telling us? Well, notice how steady the blue lines are. They don't go up very much. They don't go down very much. They're fairly, relatively similar between years. That is, buyers have been fairly steady over the last 3 or 4 years. There's not a huge difference in the amount of buyers from this year to last year. The supply, however, has increased quite dramatically. There's more homes available in Pierce County than there have been any time in the last 10 years, pretty much. When there's more inventory, more supply, and steady demand, that is a indication that prices are going to stop rising. It's going to be harder to sell in that market. There's just more to choose from. This is turning into something of a balanced market. We are used to a hot seller's market, so it's going to feel like it's a buyer's market. But the truth is, it's really just a balanced market. There's a good amount of buyer demand, and it ticked up in July a little bit, which is a little bit unusual, but not radical in any way. It didn't tick up a lot. And supply is coming down, which is, again, typical for this time of year. But you notice the delta in May, in June, that's a lot of extra inventory sitting around on the market. That is going to take some time to get absorbed. And it will. I mean, all things being equal, assuming, the economy doesn't collapse or everything just burn down or Rainier doesn't explode. Knock wood. There should be pretty predictably a balanced market, meaning, it's going to take you 1 to 3 months to sell a house. You're not going to be able to overprice it. You're not going to get multiple offers unless you drastically underprice it. You're going to need to negotiate. And if you're a buyer, you should have pretty much, a good amount of selection to choose from. You can't, prices are not going to collapse in this market. It's not a buyer's market. It's not, 2006 in it by any shape, right? Sellers still can get a decent price, but they can't overprice it, and you're unlikely to have to get yourself into bidding wars. So That's a little, that's the meta, that's the macro, that's the 10,000 foot overview. Every use case is unique. Every body is unique. Everyone is different. Everyone has different needs. Every house is different. I'm here to help you parse through what your situation is. Let me know what I can do for you personally. Give me a call. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at EXP. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world is happening with Snohomish Real Estate? Well, let's check it out, okay? Supply and demand, last 3 years, 2 years, last 2 years, inclusive. Green is the supply, new listings to market. Blue is the demand, homes under contract. Okay, so demand, pretty steady, year over year, not much change. Supply, big change, way more inventory. Supply and demand would indicate that that's going to cap pricing, and it has. The increased interest rates have done their job, capped buyer demand, capped the amount they can pay, slowed inflation down. That's what increased interest rates are meant to do. That's what they've done. Okay? Whatever this big nonsense about lowering interest rates, it's bad fucking news. Sorry, just as bad news. You don't want prices. As soon as the interest rates go down, buyer demand is going to go up and you're going to wind up paying more for your house. It's just, it is short-sighted. Meantime, buyers have had an advantage they haven't had in years in this area, probably 10 years. Well, 6 years. There's a lot of inventory and not a lot of competition for you as a buyer. You have a lot to choose from and can negotiate prices to a reasonable level, get concessions, things like that you couldn't do in the last couple of years, okay, when inventory was so low. So you are entering a balanced market, not a buyer's market. It just feels that way because it's been such a seller's market for so long here. And such a seller's market. I mean, it's really been really hot. It's just sort of ordinary now. So it feels like you have, sellers are freaking out. But really, this is normal. This is what a normal market looks like. This is sustainable. 7 or 8% interest rates is historically not horrific. It's just horrific against 3%, which is never coming back. So, and it shouldn't come back, right? You don't want it coming back. It would be the indication of some major economic problems if they brought that back. Both, it'd be a function of there being economic problems, and it'd be the harbinger of new economic problems down the road. So let's just everyone take a breath. You're looking at 30 days to sell, 60 days to sell. You can live with that. Understand that's how the market's going and go in with that expectation. Buyers, you're not going to, you should be able to get some concessions out of a seller that's been unrealistic. You're not going to see prices collapse. There's no reason to think that everything's going to collapse out of this information. I mean, it may collapse, but not because of anything that you're seeing in the current market reality. So if you have an interest in buying or selling, we should talk, because every case is different. Every person is different. Everyone has different needs, different opportunities. Every neighborhood, every house, everything is different. So let me know if there's something I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at EXP Realty. Party on, Wayne. What in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Well, all right. This is just wild. Look at the last 5 months. Green, this is supply and demand. Green is supply, new listings. Blue is demand, buyers. Demand, supply is going up, demand's going down. All right, there are more homes available on Vashon than any time I can remember, and it is distinct from the last few years. This is, everyone wants off the island. I mean, that's not quite the way it is, but there's a lot to choose from. If you're selling a house on Vashon right now, you got to be really competitive with your pricing, because there is no reason to think there's a buyer waiting for you. This buyer demand is a little bit higher than it's been consistently. but the supply is ridiculously higher than it's been recently. I mean, it's just ridiculous. That is a lot to choose from on this island. In fact, if we go to a different graph, if I show you something else, let me show you something else. Let me show you something. All right, just look at active listings on Vashon. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that action. 53 active listings. 53 active homes on this little island. 53. That's wild. That's wild. So, and all different price points. That's a rental up there, but from $299, that's a condo, or small, it's a needs work house, but under 500, not coming back. You're not getting anything under 500 on the island, but there's a good swath there in the middle between 500 and $1 million. There's 20 of those, and then there's 30 over $1 million. So this is way closer to a buyer's market than any of the outlying counties that I do, Kitsap, King, Pierce. Way closer to a buyer's market, meaning buyers have the upper hand. If you're selling your house, you should be prepared for 60 days, depending on how you price it. 30 days, 60 days. You just got to get your head around that. And if you're buying, you have tons to choose from. Now, I wouldn't think that there's going to be consistently more to choose from as the months go on, as we get to the end of the year, September, October. Just historically, seasonally, that's not what happens, but these homes are going to sit. These homes are going to, be around. So unlike King or Kitsap or Pierce, this has a real chance of dropping values. If these homeowners need to sell for some reason, they're going to need to take less. There's no ands, ifs, or buffs about it. If they need to sell, they got to take less. Now, they may not need to sell. They may just be testing the market or just think that it's time. But this is why I never counsel my clients to sell their homes in the summer, because this is the only thing you can compete with here is price. And there's just no reason to think that you're going to get your best price in the summer. Show me why you would think that. Because it's nice out? I don't get it. So you want to be listing when there's less inventory, when there's less competition. And this is 53 houses. I don't remember there ever being 53 houses on Vashon. Anyway, look, every house is different. Every buyer's situation is different. Every seller's situation is different. If you need something, if you're looking for something specific, or if you have a specific need to sell, or let me know. Let's take a look. Let's go through it and see what happens. But right now, 53. That's a lot of competition. All right. That's what I got for you now. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here for you. Aaron Hendon at Christine & Company over at EXP. Party on, Wayne.